All right, we are bringing you a live look on our digital platforms, Atlanta News First Plus, of Henry County about to hold a press conference in regards to a recent arrest they made that we brought you just yesterday. This is involving Brentson Thomas. Now, if you remember from last week, we first reported this to you about the search for this suspect involved in now a murder case. Henry County officials let us know that they are actively investigating this situation, this case involving Brentson Thomas, who they have named as a prime suspect in the murder of one individual and the injury of their detention officer, a Henry County detention officer. Now, what we're expecting out of this press conference is to hear major developments in the case. That is how it was described to us by Henry County officials. Major developments involving this individual, Brentson Thomas. I want to give you a little background before they do get started. I'll lower my audio here. I know it's coming in a little hot. There we go. So this individual, this is something that we brought to you in the beginning of this month, around November 4th. A situation involving a standoff with Henry County took place after a person was shot and a detention officer was injured. Now, we first broke that news to you right here where you're watching. This happened at the Haddon Place apartment complex in McDonough earlier this month. Police tell us that an officer, a detention officer specifically, was shot multiple times and critically injured. That officer had to be taken to the hospital. Now, we've since learned that another individual was also shot. That person unfortunately died at the scene. Now, we do know that this investigation involving Brentson Thomas was one that Henry County pursued aggressively. You heard from a press conference that we originally brought to you, Sheriff Scandrett even saying that the department would not rest or sleep or eat until this individual was apprehended. And now we can confirm that that individual was brought into custody. A $20,000 reward was even set by Henry County Sheriff's Office and Crime Stoppers Atlanta to bring this person into Henry County custody, to place him under arrest and later following an indictment. Now, we are about to hear from Henry County Sheriff Scandrett, so let's go ahead and listen in.
We can crowd in if we can. I can't move this way.
Come on over there.
Actually, some can stand in the front if they want to. Yep. Remember me. Can you get everyone that's on the podium? Do we need to adjust in any kind of way?
We got them back.
We got them? Good to go. All right, we're going to jump into it. My name is Reginald. Are we ready? My name is Sheriff Reginald Scandrett. I'm the sheriff here in Henry County, Georgia, which we consider to be God's country. I am elated this morning to be standing with me this morning, the Bibb County Sheriff, Sheriff David Davis, Rockdale County Sheriff, Sheriff Eric Lovett, Sheriff Patrick Labatt, Fulton County Sheriff, from the Georgia State Patrol, Major Kendrick Lowe, Captain Brandon Dawson, Lieutenant Michael Burns, also Lieutenant Michael Dockery, Captain Greg Shackelford, and from APD we have Major E.R. Smith. We also have from the U.S. Marshals Chief Deputy John Stevens. Did I miss anyone? Good, good. With respect to the manhunt for Mr. Brentson Thomas, or Brentson Bernard Thomas, he is now inmate Bernard Thomas, housed here in the Henry County Jail. He was captured yesterday evening at approximately 1300 hours in Bibb County, Georgia. The suspect was arrested without incident with the U.S. Marshals, Bibb County Sheriff's Office, and the Georgia State Patrol. He is now housed in the Henry County Jail, and we are beyond ecstatic for that. Again, more specifically, he was arrested yesterday, Sunday, November 14th, 2022 in Bibb County at a place called the Econo Lodge Motel. Again, with assistance from the U.S. Marshals, Southeast Regional Fugitive Task Force, and with assistance from the Georgia State Patrol and the Bibb County Sheriff's Office, with charges of murder, allegedly of victim Michael Brown, and 2 counts of aggravated assault. He had his first appearance hearings this morning, and the case was bounded over to Superior Court. His preliminary hearing will be December 6, 2022. I want to give special thanks to the Henry County Police Department the City of Atlanta Police, ATF, Bibb County Sheriff's Office, Georgia State Patrol, Fulton County Sheriff's Office, Jackson County Sheriff's Office in Florida, Lowndes County Sheriff's Office, Orange County Sheriff's Office in Florida, Osceola County Sheriff's Office in Florida, Rockdale County Sheriff's Office, Tift County Police Department, Tift County Sheriff's Office, U.S. Secret Service, and of course the U.S. Marshals Southeast Regional Task Force. This is a time frame that we are beyond ecstatic in terms of what law enforcement is doing to date. With all the challenges that law enforcement is facing nowadays, this is the core of what we do. If you purposely hurt one of us, we're coming to get you, period. And this is a testament to what we have done collectively in the holistic body of work for the last 9 days. These men and women that I stand alongside of and shoulder to shoulder with has gotten a limited amount of sleep to making sure that we found the one, this time, the one that has affected law enforcement across this state by dealing with just Henry County today. Tomorrow it may be someone else. But we stand as brothers and sisters in this unified stance of law enforcement. And I'm beyond ecstatic that we're still able to do that now in the 21st century in these times, in particular in the state of Georgia. This guy, again, is arrested here. This will be in your package. But we are still actively looking for Ms. Damari Ayana Cutler, age 29, height 5'7", 135 pounds, approximately, black and brown hair, brown in eyes brown in color. Charges: hindering apprehension of a fugitive, which is a felony. We are still actively looking for her. This should be in your media package. We want her in custody as well. With respect to that, I will yield back and take questions. If it's categoric, we'll make sure that those representatives from the agencies come up and address those appropriately.
Sheriff, can you detail how you tracked the suspect down to Bibb County?
Well, I don't want to give out any specifics, but I will tell you this. This is good old-fashioned police work in terms of what we do collectively, in terms of sharing information, in terms of how we want to make sure that every move that is made, we know something about it until we get to the point that we can do what we call our net. And our net is to make sure we bring you into custody appropriately as quick as possible. Was who on off duty? The officer was technically on duty. That is another thing that I want to look at but not get into any specifics on. We're also going to subsequently open up a internal affairs investigation because I want to know the who, what, when, where, and the how of everything that happened holistically. So once we finalize that, then we'll sort of go in that direction and what we need to do specifically at that time.
Can you tell us what the last week looked like working with all the agencies?
The last week has been very challenging with respect to rest, with respect to timing, with respect to monies that were spent, but it was harmonious internally. This is what we do. And I think everyone that stands beside me will tell you that this is what we do. We don't have to do a lot of talking about it. We don't have to do any bragging about it. If you are challenged or crazy enough to try to hurt one of our law enforcement personnel, statewide, nationwide, we're going to track you, we're going to find you, and bring you to justice.
Sheriff, can you speak to the Florida connection? I believe you said there was some Florida agencies involved.
Well, in the investigatory process of this individual was all over the place. We got some very critical information from several entities inside of the Florida connection as well. And so they were instrumental with respect to the information we needed at the time with respect to this investigation.
Was there an active warrant out for him in Florida?
No, not in the Florida area.
Can you provide more details about the day of the shooting, the circumstances surrounding the double shooting?
With respect to what specifically?
The initial incident.
Well, the initial incident is still being investigated by the Henry County Police Department in terms of what the details are. It's still in the investigative process or mode. I don't want to tamper into that at all. I want to make sure we continue to stay with the headline with respect to this guy who's a danger to all of us, quite frankly, is in custody, and we're still actively looking for one more.
Could you tell us where the arrest took place?
I'm sorry?
Where exactly the arrest took place?
Bibb County. And Bibb County Sheriff is here as well. I don't want to talk for them. I've given a lot of headline, but the Bibb County Sheriff is here if you want to talk about that more specifically. And the Chief Deputy for the U.S. Marshals is here as well. So I will yield back with respect to them as well to share the stage.
Can you give any more insight into what motivated the shooting
Yeah, I cannot, unfortunately, give any details with respect to that because it's still in the preliminary subsequent phases of an investigatory time frame. So I don't want to hinder, challenge, or dive into that right now at all.
Sheriff, how's the detention officer doing? If you could talk about that.
The detention officer is still housed in a local county hospital. He's progressing well. He's progressing very well, in fact, particularly after being shot 5 times. Just the graces of God be with him and his family, but he's progressing very well. Thank you so much for asking.
Are you identifying the detention officer?
Not at this time. Not at this time.
Amanda was killed with the suspect. Have we established that the suspect knew him?
I'm sorry, say that again.
The man that was ultimately killed, did the suspect know him?
Again, a part of the investigation. I don't want to get into the investigation at all because that's a sensitive nature, guys. I want to make sure that we look at every I, dot it, every T, and cross it. And I just don't want to put that out there so that it's subject to being scrutinized or looked at when we're in the preliminary phases of an investigation. All right? Yes, Marshall? Good.
John Stevens, Chief Deputy United States Marshal for the Northern District of Georgia, under United States Marshal Thomas Brown. I'm here to take questions. Thank you.
Could you just talk about the apprehension, what was all involved in bringing this suspect in custody?
So as the Sheriff talked about, what is involved is cooperation. The U.S. Marshals are fortunate in that we have a worldwide presence and we have deep investigative capabilities, but none of that matters without the local, state, and the partners here. We couldn't do anything. We're a small agency. We have 3,000 operational personnel worldwide. Our task forces bring together people from all over the nation, law enforcement from all over the nation, and it allows us to have this massive reach. As the Sheriff said, our Southeastern Regional Fugitive Task Force took this case on. Our Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force extended help, and that allowed us to investigate both here and in northern Florida. So that's what we do. It's the cooperation, and fortunately the Sheriff works really well with us. Thank you.
You were able to take him into custody without incident. Did you have to evacuate the motel prior to, or if you just detail what all was involved with that?
Unfortunately, no. That's moving into the area of tactics, and we need to keep that, hold that close to the chest so that the next person that runs doesn't know what we're going to do so we can more effectively take them into custody. I will say the Georgia State Patrol was absolutely instrumental in making this happen, as was the Macon-Bibb County Sheriff's Office. It's not a secret the Georgia State Patrol has eyes everywhere, and they were the eyes that brought this home.
Can anybody address what he was doing in Bibb County, what connection he had there?
He was running. He was trying to get away from the sheriff. He was trying to hide. He was going motel to motel and trying to escape, but it was unsuccessful.
Were you tracking him at various motels?
Through investigative techniques, we were tracking him all over the South. We knew where he was. We were just looking for the right time. We had him close, and the Georgia State Patrol brought it home.
Any information you can provide on the suspect who's still at large, or possible whereabouts, any other information?
No. She's gone to ground. She's hiding. She's running, but we won't stop looking for her. We are going to find her. It's not if, it's when.
And what is her connection with the suspect who's been arrested?
I'd have the sheriff speak to that. As far as the actual underlying, we do fugitives. As far as the actual underlying police investigation, as the sheriff said, the Henry County Police are taking care of that. Is there anything else regarding the fugitives section of this investigation? Thank you, sir.
All right, bring up the Bibb County Sheriff, David Davis.
Thank you, Sheriff. This shows what teamwork and partnership does. We have state agencies and local agencies that does. I have my SRT team that was instrumental in the capture here today with us. And this individual has been running all over the Southeast, running all up and down 75, down into South Georgia, Florida, and he's been tracked. We've had investigation leads. We've had people that have called in. And so it just shows that all of us, no matter what agency we work for, whether it's a county agency, city agency, state agency, when it's one of our folks that's been injured, and even a member of the public, as there was another victim involved in this case, we're going to track you down, we're going to find you, we're going to bring you to justice. And that's what happened in this particular case. Sheriff Scandrett and I have been in contact ever since this happened, and there had been word earlier in the investigation and earlier in the manhunt that he might have been coming through Macon, and I'm sure at some time in his travels going to Florida, he passed through Macon, and then coming back up this way on the run, he wound up in Macon yesterday on a Sunday afternoon where he was captured. And I can't say enough in thanks to all of those involved, State Patrol, U.S. Marshal Service, and especially my SRT team from the Sheriff's Office. Everybody came together with a plan. This person was taken into custody, no injuries, and now he's going to face justice as he should. And we want to certainly send our prayers up and our thoughts for the detention officer, for the Henry County officer that was injured, and all the other people who have been maligned and injured and suffered at the hands, allegedly, of this person who is in custody now. Anybody got any questions?
3 more people we're going to bring up.
All right. Very good.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sheriff.
Thank you.
We're going to bring up Sheriff Pat Labatt in this order. Sheriff Pat Labatt, Sheriff Eric Lovett, and also from the Georgia State Patrol. Let's go. Major, Georgia State Patrol. Captain? Okay, Captain of Georgia State Patrol in that order. All right.
Good morning. And this literally has been said, but it cannot be overstated. This is the power of collaboration. This is what we do. When you hurt a member of our community as well as a member of our family. And so with that in mind, it's like the commercial says, it's one call, that's all, right? It is what do you need, our resources. You can't outrun law enforcement when you get to harming those in our community that are meant to protect and serve. So our hearts go out to the Henry County Sheriff's Office as well as the community as a whole, and certainly Sheriff Scandrett knows on behalf of the Fulton County Sheriff's Office if there's anything that we can do. We are there in unison to make sure that we collectively are working with the Marshal Services, working with the Georgia State Patrol. Again, what you have seen is a transformation where in years past a lot of agencies and a lot of agency heads could not work together. Well, this is a 2022 transformation, if you will, and how well we work together. And this is a shining example of what right looks like. And so, again, our prayers go along with millions of others to the Sheriff's Office. And certainly thank you, Sheriff, for being the leader you are.
Thank you, sir. We're going to interject before we bring up Sheriff from Levitt from Rockville. APD was an instrumental part as well. I want to make sure the Major has some comments as well.
First of all, good afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Initially, when the call came about, maybe about more than a week or so ago, Atlanta Police SWAT unit was notified. We were extremely wanted to be involved in the apprehension of this individual and the young lady also. We approached the location. We made entry without incident. They wasn't there, but we wanted to make sure that we do our part in clearing out the city. And anyone that's close to our jurisdiction, we want to make sure that we're definitely involved. And we would continue to follow the case. And from any agency, any department, we want to say that we're here to be a part of this team, of this law enforcement team throughout the state. We were honored that the sheriff reached out to us. We want to also bless the families of those injured personnel. This is a time trying, especially going into the holidays. Thank you. There's no questions.
Just one question.
Yes, ma'am.
So at one point you all believed that the primary suspect and possibly one of the other suspects was from the Atlanta area?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you detail that? Give some information on that?
Yes, we were notified by the sheriff in this department, and from that point we set up we went to that location and we checked. I can't get into the tactics and the strategies that were used, but our SWAT team was deployed.
And was that where the images came from last week, images that you all sent out of the suspects that you all were looking for?
We didn't send those images
Or
out, ma'am.
the
No.
sheriff's office?
Yes.
Yes. But, you know, on the part of Chief Shearbaum and the Atlanta Police Executive Staff, we're always here to work as a team with other agencies. And like Sheriff Labat said, it's the cornerstone of what we do. And anything we can do as a department, especially with special operations, we're here to help.
Sheriff Lovett.
Well, good afternoon. You've heard it over and over and over. I'm just going to say, as a sheriff or even a police chief, we stand together when you come after or hurt one of our law enforcement personnel. When you commit such a serious crime in any one of our counties, just know that we're going to come after you, we're going to look for you, and we're not going to get any sleep until we find you. But we cannot say enough how much we appreciate each and every last one of our staff members, who I always say are the boots on the ground, from the Bibb County deputies to Henry County to Fulton County to Rockdale to Georgia State Patrol to the U.S. Marshals. Who did I miss? Did I miss anyone? And to any Atlanta PD or any police department who may not be here representing their man or woman behind the badge, or any sheriff's office or sheriff who's not here, not represented. We appreciate the work that they've done to assist Henry County in apprehending this guy. Just know that if nobody else have law enforcement back, we're going to have each other's back. So our hats off to you. We applaud you for all the hard work that you all done. And to the families who have been victimized by this guy, our prayers continue to be with you. Thank you.
Brandon Dawson, captain with the Georgia State Patrol, the Troop D commander. So one of our patrol posts, Post 44 for Forsyth, is the area that covers Macon. Without going over the same information that's already been passed along, I just want to acknowledge that it was absolutely boots on the ground, our troopers that made some significant intel that led to the successful arrest of Mr. Thomas. Of course, that couldn't have took place without the assistance of the U.S. Marshal, Bibb County Sheriff's Office, and everybody else that was involved yesterday. I'm just glad that it went off without any more injuries, and it was a successful arrest. Thank you, Sheriff.
I certainly would be remiss if my staff, my chief deputy is here, Michael Yarborough, and Miss Tina as well. That's Tina. Everybody knows Tina. But thank you so much for what they have done in the midst of this. They have, we've literally had limited sleep, and that's pretty much everybody that's on here. But I want to make sure that I reiterate what was just said. You see some of the heads on the stage, but the body, in terms of the boots on the ground, those men and women, hats off to them. Thank you guys that are in the room. I mean, from my heart of hearts, and I get emotional with that type of stuff because sometimes people don't understand the things that the boots on the ground and law enforcement goes through in this time frame. Keep them and us in your prayers as we go forward to the next case, because unfortunately this is what we're called to do, or fortunately this is what we're called to do professionally. So keep us all in your prayers. Any more comments, questions at this time? If not, thank you so much. We certainly appreciate all you guys have done, and we'll see you soon.
And those updates from Henry County Sheriff Scandrett. A lot to recap here, so let's get right into it. Right now, investigators are searching for another person tied to this incident, that person now being identified as 29-year-old Damari Cotter. They are actively searching for this individual. As you heard from the U.S. Marshals, they do believe that this person has gone into hiding, and they are actively searching for her at this time. Now, to get back to the main person involved and why this investigation or this press conference was held today, as you heard from several of these sheriffs, this was about working together to apprehend an individual who injured a detention officer within their county. So this was clearly very personal and something that they made a top priority to apprehend and bring into arrest Brentson Bernard Thomas. Now, Brentson Bernard Thomas is in Henry County Jail at the moment. They did put out that $20,000 reward a while back from the Henry County Sheriff's Office specifically and Crime Stoppers Atlanta to bring him into custody and later indict him. Now we know that he is in Henry County Jail. He has been arrested. They told you just in this press conference moments ago that he was located Sunday morning at a motel in Macon. Now, this effort to bring him in involved Macon Bibb County Sheriff's Office, U.S. Marshals, Georgia State Patrol, and several other agencies. Right now, the investigation continues into looking for that fourth person, 29-year-old Damari Cotter. They did mention that 2 other people were arrested in connection to the shooting and later standoff that we first brought to you out of McDonough. Those individuals, I have my notes here. I'm going to take a look here. Those individuals were named as Joseph Kimber and LaShonda Lay. They were arrested in connection to the shooting incident and later the standoff. They are in custody along with Brentson Thomas. Right now, the main focus and where this investigation is moving forward is that search for 29-year-old Damari Cotter. Now, as far as the officer, we heard from the sheriff, he did provide updates saying that officer who was shot 5 times is still in the hospital, but in the words of Sheriff Scandrett, progressing well in his recovery. And we also learned the identity of that murder victim who was also shot earlier this month. That person identified as Michael Brown. That is where that murder charge does stem from. Brentson Thomas now facing a murder charge and 2 counts of aggravated assault in connection to this incident out of Henry County in McDonough. Now, he also faces charges in Clayton County and Miami-Dade, Florida, for aggravated assault charges as well. So we will continue to update you. We are actually about to start our new newscast here where you can expect to hear these updates and continued coverage on air, as well as on our digital platforms, AtlantaNewsFirst.com and the Atlanta News First app.